The Galactic Military Academy stood tall on Nexus Prime. Its silver towers reached up into the purple sky. For 3,000 years, aliens from all over the galaxy came here to learn. They learned how to fight, how to lead, and how to protect their worlds. Today was different. Today, 3 humans would arrive. Commander Vexlar looked at his computer screen. His bug-like eyes moved over the list of new students. Then he stopped. His body went still. 3 names caught his attention. Morrison, Jake, Sullivan, Amy, Parks, Kevin. All 3 were from Earth. Earth was a Class 12 death world. Most aliens in the galaxy came from safe worlds. Their planets had gentle weather. Their animals were small and friendly. Their plants gave food without danger. But Earth was different. Earth had storms that could destroy cities. It had animals with teeth and claws. It had plants that could poison you. Even the air pressure and gravity were too strong for most aliens. Humans grew up in this dangerous place. Now 3 of them were coming to the academy. Jake Morrison walked into the main hall first. He was tall and strong. His brown hair was cut short. His eyes looked at everything, always watching, always ready. Behind him came Amy Sullivan. She had red hair and green eyes. She smiled easily, but her eyes were sharp. Kevin Parks came last. He had dark skin and big muscles. He moved like someone who trained every day. The 3 humans entered the huge room. Hundreds of alien students stared at them. There were bug-like creatures with hard shells. There were beings with tentacles instead of legs. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some glowed with their own light. All of them looked at the humans with fear and curiosity. A tall insect creature walked toward them slowly. His voice came through a small translator device on his uniform. The translator changed his clicking sounds into words everyone could understand. He spoke carefully like he was afraid. "You are the humans? From Earth?" Jake smiled and held out his hand. Several aliens near them jumped back. They had never seen this gesture before. It looked aggressive to them. "That's right," Jake said in a friendly voice. "I'm Jake Morrison. These are my friends, Amy Sullivan and Kevin Parks." The insect looked at Jake's hand. He seemed scared but also curious. Slowly, he touched Jake's hand with one of his thin arms. "I am Kelthar," he said. "I come from the Vrex world. Please forgive my question, but is it true? Does your world have animals that hunt in groups? And plants that kill with poison?" Amy laughed. The sound made several students jump. "Oh yes," she said. "We have wolves that hunt in packs. We have lions and bears and crocodiles. And Australia, that's a whole continent on Earth. It has snakes and spiders that can kill you. We made medicines just so people could live there safely." Kelthar's shell changed color from green to pale yellow. Around the room, aliens started talking to each other in worried voices. They could not believe what they were hearing. Commander Vexlar stepped forward. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "Students, go to your places. We will begin now." As the humans walked to their spots, Jake noticed something. The other students moved away from them. Nobody wanted to stand too close to the people from the death world. Jake looked at Amy and Kevin. They both shrugged. This was going to be an interesting year. The first week was about physical training. All students had to show how fit they were. The training ground was amazing. It could change gravity, air, and temperature. Each student could train in the conditions that felt right for their species. Instructor Dralvin stood in front of everyone. He was huge, with 4 arms and copper-colored skin. "Today you will run 5 kilometers," he said. "The path has hills, water, and sand. Each of you will run in your homeworld conditions. The goal is to finish, not to win." The alien students looked nervous but ready. They had trained for this their whole lives. The course would be hard, but they could do it. Then Dralvin turned to the humans. "You 3, what conditions do you need?" Jake answered without thinking. "Earth normal. 1 full gravity. 21% oxygen. About 22 degrees. All of Dralvin's eyes blinked at once. "You want full gravity? Are you sure?" Amy grinned. "We know what our planet feels like." "Yes, full gravity." Shocked whispers filled the air. Full gravity was the maximum that most species could handle. The Confederation used it as their standard measurement. But most aliens came from worlds with only 60 or 70% of that gravity. For humans, full gravity was normal. This scared the other students. The race began. The alien students started jogging at a steady pace. They wanted to save energy for the long run. But the humans ran differently. They moved with smooth, steady steps that covered ground quickly. Their breathing stayed calm. Their pace never changed. After 3 kilometers, Jake, Amy, and Kevin had passed half of the other students. They were not even breathing hard. They ran over rocky hills like it was easy. They crossed water obstacles without slowing down. They pushed through sandy areas without getting tired. Commander Vexillar watched from a high platform. He could not believe what he was seeing. "Show me their body data," he told his assistant. Numbers and graphs appeared in the air. The humans' hearts were beating faster than normal, but not dangerously fast. They were using oxygen well. Their muscles worked together perfectly. These were not special humans. These were average humans. This was what normal humans could do. Vexillar felt a chill run through his body. "They are persistence predators," he whispered. Everyone near him went quiet. Persistence predators were the scariest hunters in nature. They did not need to be the fastest or the strongest. They just never stopped. They chased their prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey was too tired to run anymore. Then they killed it. This was one of the most terrifying ways to hunt. And humans did it for fun. Jake crossed the finish line first. Amy and Kevin were right behind him. They were smiling and talking like they had just taken a nice walk. They stretched their muscles gently to cool down. Behind them, the other students were still on the course. Many had slowed to a walk. Their breathing was labored and painful. Kevin noticed everyone staring at them. "Did we do something wrong? Should we have gone slower?" Instructor Dralvin walked over to them. His face showed no emotion. That was acceptable. Tomorrow we will change the training. But everyone knew what he really meant. Tomorrow they would try to find exercises that could challenge the humans without making every other student feel hopeless. The academy had never dealt with students from a death world before. They were learning that humans were more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Not because humans wanted to hurt anyone, but because surviving on Earth had made them incredibly strong. What was hard for other species was easy for humans. What was impossible for others was just difficult for humans. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about Deathworld species. The academy teachers held an emergency meeting 3 days after the running test. Commander Vexillar showed them charts and numbers comparing humans to other students. The differences were shocking. "The problem is not just their bodies," Vexillar explained. "It is their minds. Humans come from a world where danger is everywhere, where making a mistake means death. This changed how they think. They see problems differently than we do." Instructor Sevlan was a being made of pure energy inside a crystal container. The crystal glowed brighter when he was worried. Right now it was very bright. "We cannot make the training easier for everyone else. That would defeat the purpose of this school." "I agree," Vexillar said, "but we must find a way to include the humans without making training impossible for others. Perhaps we should test different skills." The next morning brought a new test. All students met in the combat training room. This huge room could create any kind of battlefield. Today's test was about thinking and solving problems while under pressure. "You will work in mixed teams," Dralvin announced. "Each team has different species. You must get through obstacles while solving puzzles. This test shows if you can work together and think clearly when stressed." The teachers split up the humans on purpose. Each human went to a different team. Jake's team included Kelthar the bug-like Vrex, a Kix who breathed methane gas and wore a special suit, and Telara, who could read minds. They called themselves Team Alpha 7. The test started. The team appeared in a fake jungle. Thick alien plants surrounded them. Their goal was to get a data core from a protected area 3 kilometers away. They had to avoid or stop hostile drones along the way. "We should move carefully," Kelthar suggested. His antennae twitched nervously. "We should scan for drone patterns and find the safest path." Jake looked at his wrist computer. It showed a map of the area. "Good idea. But we have limited time. What if I distract the drones while you 3 go around and grab the core?" Telara sent thoughts directly into their minds. All telepathic Mindari could do this. That would put you in great danger. "The drones have stun weapons." "Yeah, but I can handle a few stun shots," Jake said. "On Earth, we train with similar weapons. We build up resistance to them." Jake was already moving. He looked at the area like a hunter studying prey. He saw good hiding spots and figured out where the drones would shoot from. Before anyone could stop him, Jake ran into the open. 6 flying drones immediately spotted him and started shooting, but Jake was already moving to the next hiding spot. He flowed from cover to cover with amazing grace. He was not trying to dodge every shot. He just dodged enough to keep moving. The other team members watched in shock as Jake took 3 stun hits. Each hit would have knocked out most aliens. But Jake kept moving, kept fighting, and kept drawing more drones away from the target area. "He is crazy," Kelthar whispered. Telara's mental voice was full of wonder. "No, he is adapted to survive. This is normal for him." With the drones busy chasing Jake, the rest of Alpha 7 reached their goal. They got the data core and escaped successfully. Jake led a dozen drones on a long chase through the fake jungle. Finally, after taking 7 direct stun hits, he fell unconscious. When the test ended, Jake woke up in the medical area. His whole team was staring at him. "Did we win?" he asked. "You did not just win," Dralvin said, appearing beside the bed. "Your team set a new academy record. But we need to talk about your resistance to stun weapons." Jake shrugged. This was a human gesture that meant something was not important. Earth has electric eels that produce 600 volts. We have jellyfish that can kill you in minutes with their sting. After growing up around that, you build tolerance. Some of our police even train with tasers to build resistance. The watching teachers felt cold fear. Humans deliberately exposed themselves to weapons during training. They built resistance to things that would kill most species. It was not just about being physically tough. It was a completely different way of thinking about danger. Amy Sullivan's team faced a different test. They had to rescue hostages. The fake scenario put them in a city where they had to get 3 civilians out of a building controlled by enemies. Her team leader was Victor, a Centaurian with sensor stalks on his head. "We should negotiate first. We should try to get them released peacefully." "How long will that take?" Amy asked. She was studying the building's layout on her computer. "Normal rules say we should negotiate for at least 2 hours before using force." Amy shook her head. "The briefing said the hostages are injured. They might not have 2 hours. What if we go in fast and hard instead?" Victor's sensor stalks went stiff with alarm. "That would be very risky. Life is risky." Amy was already moving. She had a natural way of leading that made others want to follow. The team found themselves going with her before they even decided to. She led them through a fast breach of the building. They stopped hostile fake enemies with speed and skill that showed countless hours of practice. Other students were taught to be careful above all else. But Amy showed a different way of thinking. Calculated aggression, overwhelming force at the right moment. This was the kind of thinking that came from a species that had to fight to survive every day. They rescued all 3 hostages in under 15 minutes. The Academy's combat teachers had never seen anything like it. Kevin Parks had his own test. He was dropped into a harsh fake environment with very few supplies. He was supposed to survive for 3 days. He survived 3 days easily. Then he kept going. By day 7, the watching teachers became worried. Kevin had built a shelter from natural materials. He found a reliable water source. He made fishing tools from sticks and vines. He seemed to be planning to live there permanently. When they finally ended the test, Kevin looked disappointed. "That was just getting interesting. The local plants include at least 3 you can eat." I was starting to understand how the animals migrate. Commander Vexler understood the real problem now. The humans were not just better than expected. They operated on a completely different level. What the Academy called extreme survival, humans called a mild inconvenience. That evening, all the Academy leaders met again. They talked about what to do with the human students. Some suggested making separate classes just for humans. Others thought they should send the humans home. But Vexler had a different idea. "We should not separate them," he said. "We should learn from them. And they should learn from us. Yes, humans are physically superior in many ways, but other species have different strengths. The Mindari can read thoughts. The Vrex can see in complete darkness. The Korthians are incredibly strong. Every species has something special." He looked at the other teachers with all his eyes. "The humans can teach our students about courage and persistence. Our students can teach the humans about patience and cooperation. Together, they will be stronger than any of them could be alone. That is the real purpose of this academy." The teachers agreed. They would not change the training to accommodate humans. Instead, they would use the humans' presence to make all students better. It was a risk, but it might create the best class of officers the Confederation had ever seen. After 1 month at the academy, everything had changed. The human students had completely altered how everyone thought and acted. It was not just about their physical abilities or tactical thinking. It was something deeper, something about human culture itself. The cafeteria became a place where students from different worlds could relax together. Jake, Amy, and Kevin usually sat at the same table, but they started inviting others to join them. Today, 5 alien students sat with them. The aliens listened with horror and fascination to what the humans were saying. "So let me understand," Kelthar said slowly. "Humans do dangerous activities that could cause serious injury or death just for fun?" "Oh yes," Kevin replied. He was eating something that looked like a sandwich. "We have rock climbing, skydiving, surfing, and martial arts. We have whole sports where people hit each other with sticks or try to throw each other to the ground." Amy grinned. "Don't forget bungee jumping. We literally throw ourselves off tall structures. The only thing stopping us from hitting the ground is an elastic rope." Shelvan was a Vorn with tentacles instead of legs. His tentacles coiled tightly in distress. "But why?" "What is the purpose?" "It's fun," Jake said with a shrug. "Plus, it helps us test our limits. You never know what you can do until you push yourself." Telara the telepathic Mindari sent a thought to everyone. "This explains much about human military history. You do not see danger as something to avoid. You see it as something to overcome." "I guess that's true," Amy agreed. "On Earth, if something is trying to kill you, you have 2 choices. Run or fight. We learned early that running just delays the problem. It is better to face it directly." Their conversation stopped when Instructor Dralvin arrived. The huge Korthian looked troubled. His forearms were crossed. The students knew this meant something serious was happening. "Humans, you 3 need to come with me. There has been a situation." They followed the teacher to a briefing room. Commander Vexillar waited there with several other senior officers. A holographic screen showed a news broadcast from the Confederation's main networks. "There has been an incident," Vexillar began. He did not waste time with small talk. "Pirates attacked a transport ship carrying civilian colonists in the Kepler sector. The pirates want ransom money. They say they will start killing hostages if they do not get paid within 48 hours. "What does this have to do with us?" Jake asked. The Confederation Council debated sending a rescue team, but they decided the risk is too high. The pirates are well armed. They occupy a strong position. Any attack would probably kill many rescuers and hostages." Vexlar paused, all his eyes focused on each human. However, some council members suggested that this might be exactly the kind of situation that humans are good at handling. Amy's eyes narrowed. "You want us to volunteer for a suicide mission?" "I want to give you a choice," Vexillar corrected. "You are students, not soldiers. Nobody expects you to risk your lives. But if you wanted to try a rescue, you would have full academy support. You could use any equipment you need." The 3 humans looked at each other. A whole conversation seemed to happen between them in just seconds. It was the kind of instant understanding that came from shared culture and values. "How many hostages?" Kevin asked. 47 civilians. 12 of them are children." "How many pirates?" Amy asked. "Intelligence suggests about 20 fighters, maybe more." "Give us an hour to plan," Jake said. "We'll do it." Dralvin made a sound that could have been approval or worry. "You understand the odds?" "There are 3 of us and 20 of them," Kevin replied with a small smile. "Sounds about fair." He said it with such calm confidence that several teachers felt a chill. This was what it meant to be from a death world. Not just physical toughness or tactical skill. It was the complete refusal to be scared by bad odds. The planning session became a lesson for every teacher who watched. The humans worked with speed and efficiency. It showed a military culture developed over thousands of years of war. They asked for specific equipment. Weapons, armor, breaching charges, and communication gear. Everything had a clear purpose. "The key is speed and violence of action," Jake explained. He drew the assault plan on a holographic display. "We go in fast and hit them hard. We create maximum chaos. The pirates will expect negotiation, not an immediate attack. That gives us surprise." "You will be outnumbered almost 7 to 1, Vexlar pointed out. "Only if they can bring all their people to fight us at once," Amy countered. "We breach here in the cargo bay. It is the furthest point from where they keep the hostages. We fight through the ship, taking out enemies as we go. The layout works for us. Narrow corridors mean they cannot swarm us." "And if something goes wrong?" Dralvin asked. Kevin looked up from the weapons he was checking. "Then we improvise. That is what humans do best." 6 hours later, a small academy shuttle took the 3 human students to a position near the captured transport ship. The vessel hung in space with its lights dark. Debris from the battle that led to its capture floated around it. Back at the academy, every teacher and most students gathered in the observation center. They watched through cameras mounted on the humans' armor. What they saw would become legendary in academy history. The humans moved through space using magnetic boots. They approached the ship's hull in near total silence. They placed shaped charges on the cargo bay door with practiced skill. The explosion was controlled, just enough to breach the hull without causing dangerous decompression. Then they went inside. What happened next was a perfect example of close-quarters combat, human style. The three students moved as one unit. Each covered the other's blind spots. They talked in short, quick phrases. Their teamwork was so good it seemed almost telepathic. The first pirate they found had time to start an alarm, but not time to do anything else. Jake's stun weapon, set to maximum power, dropped the pirate instantly. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. The pirates were a mixed group of different species. They responded exactly as the humans predicted. They rushed toward the breach in small groups, trying to stop what they thought was a large force. Instead, they found Jake, Amy, and Kevin. And they learned what it meant to fight humans. The humans did not wait for the pirates to come to them. They advanced, moving through the ship with steady, relentless pace. Each corridor became a trap. Each junction point a kill zone. The pirates found themselves constantly defending. They could not organize. They could not use their superior numbers. Amy took a hit from a plasma weapon. Her armor absorbed most of the impact. She returned fire without breaking stride. Her face showed absolute focus. Kevin used his size to maximum advantage. He physically blocked a corridor while Jake and Amy advanced on different routes. When three pirates tried to rush his position, he held his ground. His armor took multiple hits while he calmly neutralized each attacker. Jake reached the hostage area first. The door was sealed. Two pirates stood guard. They saw him coming and opened fire. Jake dodged, rolled, and came up shooting. Both guards fell before they could adjust their aim. He broke through the door. The hostages huddled in the corner, surrounded by the remaining pirates. The leader, a scarred Centauri with a big rifle, aimed it at the nearest hostage. "One more step and I start killing civilians," the pirate snarled. Jake threw a flashbang grenade. The device was designed for human senses. It overwhelmed most alien species. In the moment of confusion, Jake, Amy, and Kevin stormed the room. It was over in seconds. The pirates, disoriented and outfought, surrendered. Every hostage was safe. The entire operation, from breach to rescue, took less than 20 minutes. The galaxy was learning that humans from a death world were not just strong or fast or smart. They were all of these things together, and that made them almost unstoppable. The Academy's main auditorium was completely full. Every student, every teacher, and important people from the Confederation Council had gathered to watch the formal report of the hostage rescue mission. Holographic recordings played on multiple screens. They showed every moment of the operation from different angles. When the presentation ended, the room was silent. Then slowly a sound began to build. It started with Kelthar. He had been watching with his mandibles hanging open in shock. He began clicking his forelimbs together. This was the Vrex way of showing respect. Others joined in. Each species added their own form of approval. The humans had done the impossible. Commander Vexlar walked to the podium. Students Morrison, Sullivan, and Parks. What you did yesterday will be studied in military schools across the Confederation for generations. You saved 47 lives against overwhelming odds. But more than that, you taught us all a valuable lesson. He pointed to the frozen image on the screen. It showed Jake advancing through weapons fire. We in the Confederation have spent thousands of years building a civilization based on cooperation, negotiation, and careful risk assessment. These are good traits. They brought us peace and prosperity, but they also made us cautious. Perhaps too cautious. Vexlar's sensor stalk swept across the assembled students. Humans come from a world that shows no mercy, where survival requires constant alertness and the willingness to face danger directly. They had to evolve not just physical toughness, but mental strength. The ability to look at impossible odds and say, "We can do this." This does not make them better than us, he continued, but it does make them different. And that difference is exactly what the Confederation needs. In the weeks that followed, everything at the Academy shifted. The human students were no longer viewed with worry or confusion. Instead, they became unofficial teachers, showing other students how to push beyond what they thought were their limits. Jake found himself leading mixed-species combat training sessions. He showed alien students how to use aggression tactically. It is not about being violent for the sake of it, he explained to a group of trainees. It is about understanding when fast, decisive action is more merciful than long conflict. Amy developed a course on crisis decision-making. Her first lesson put students in high-pressure simulations. They had to make life-or-death choices with incomplete information. On Earth, we have a saying, she told them. Perfect is the enemy of good. Sometimes the best decision is the one you can make right now, not the perfect one you will think of in 5 minutes. Kevin's specialty became survival training, but with a human twist. He taught students from gentle worlds how to find opportunity in bad situations. Your environment is trying to kill you? Great, that means it has resources you can use. Everything in nature is either food, shelter, medicine, or a tool. You just have to learn to see it that way. Kelthar became one of Kevin's most dedicated students. The Vrex had come to the academy expecting to learn standard military rules. Instead, he was learning how to think like a predator. It was terrifying and exciting at the same time. I do not understand how your species survived long enough to develop civilization, Kelthar said one day during a hard training session. Everything on your world seems designed to kill you. Kevin laughed. That is exactly why we survived. We had to get smart, get tough, or die. The ones who succeeded learned to turn disadvantages into advantages. Predators taught us to hunt. Poison taught us to make medicine. Hostile environment taught us to adapt. But it must have been so difficult. Sure. But difficult made us strong, and strong made us capable of things like this. Kevin gestured around the academy. We can live in space now. We can visit other worlds. We can help protect species that never had to fight for survival the way we did. That is worth all the difficulty. The end of the first year at the Galactic Military Academy brought a big test. It was called the Trial of Unity. It tested everything the students had learned. Combat skills, tactical thinking, leadership, and the ability to work in mixed-species teams under extreme pressure. This year's trial was different. The teachers, influenced by the humans, had designed a scenario that would challenge even Jake, Amy, and Kevin. The scenario was simple but brutal. A colony world on the edge of Confederation space had gone dark. Early reports suggested the colony had been attacked by an unknown hostile force. The students, organized into teams of 6, would be dropped on the planet. Their goal was to find and rescue any survivors, identify the threat, and if possible, stop it. The twist was important. This was not a simulation. The Academy had found a real abandoned colony. They cleared it for use as a training ground. The danger would be small but real. Environmental hazards, wildlife, and the psychological pressure of a real situation. Team 7 included Jake Morrison, Kelthar, Telara the Mindari, a Zentari engineer named Kixaral, a Vorn pilot called Shelvon, and a Korthian combat specialist named Drentar. It was a careful mix of species and skills, designed to require maximum cooperation. They landed on the colony world at dawn. The settlement was eerily quiet. Buildings were intact but showed signs of quick abandonment. Equipment lay scattered in the streets. Doors hung open. But there were no bodies, no clear signs of violence. This is wrong, Jake said quietly. His hand moved to his weapon without thinking. People do not just disappear like this. Telara's mental voice touched their minds. I sense leftover fear. Strong emotions leave marks. Whatever happened here terrified the colonists. We need to establish a secure area and begin systematic search patterns, Kelthar suggested. He was using lessons learned from the human students. Jake, you take point. Your senses are sharper than ours. The team moved through the abandoned colony with professional efficiency. Each member used their unique abilities. Kixrel analyzed the technology, trying to access data and security logs. Shelvon used his tentacles to check tight spaces the others could not reach. Drentar provided heavy support. His 4 arms let him carry extra equipment and weapons. Telara found the first clue. In the colony's medical center, she discovered a partially broken recording. The holographic image flickered, showing a scared colonist. They come at night, the recording said. We cannot see them clearly. They move too fast. They are taking us one by one. We tried to fight, but nothing works. If anyone finds this, tell them to stay away. Tell them dash. The recording cut off suddenly. So something is still here, Drentar said. His multiple arms checked his weapons. Hunting. Good, Jake replied. His teammates looked startled. That means we can find it. And if we can find it, we can stop it. That night, they set a trap. Using themselves as bait, the team made a camp in the open. They made themselves obvious targets. Then they waited. The attack came at midnight. Shapes moved through the darkness. They were barely visible even with night vision equipment. They were fast, coordinated, and clearly intelligent. But they made a big mistake. They thought the team would react with the same terror as the original colonists. Instead, they found a mixed species team that included a human. Jake moved first. His training and instincts let him track targets that were nearly invisible. He marked them with a laser. The rest of the team opened fire with perfect coordination. The attackers, revealed in the weapon flashes, were insect-like creatures the size of large dogs. They had skin that changed color like a chameleon and wickedly sharp claws. The battle was fierce but brief. The creatures were ambush predators. They were not ready for organized resistance. When it became clear they were losing, they ran into the night. "We hurt them," Kelthar said, looking at the scene. "They will think twice before attacking again." "No," Jake corrected. He studied the direction the creatures fled. "We made them angry. They will come back with more numbers. We need to find their nest and end this now." It was the kind of aggressive, forward thinking that only a human would suggest. But the rest of the team, trained by humans for months, understood the logic. You did not win by reacting to threats. You won by eliminating them. This was the human way, and now it was becoming the Confederation way too. They tracked the creatures to a network of underground tunnels beneath the colony. Tilara sensed multiple mines below. Perhaps hundreds of the creatures lived down there. A normal military response would be to call for help, establish a perimeter, and slowly work to contain the threat. Jake had a different idea. "We collapse the tunnels, cut off their access to the surface. That will trap them underground, but it will not eliminate the threat," Kixrel pointed out. "No, but it will contain it. Future colonists can decide how to handle them. Our job is to make this place safe enough for people to return." Using Charge's and Kixrel's engineering knowledge, they carefully collapsed every tunnel entrance they could find. It took the rest of the night. By morning, the colony was secure. The creatures were trapped below ground, unable to threaten people on the surface. Team 7's report back to the Academy was simple. "Colony cleared, threat contained, ready for recolonization." They had completed in one night what the teachers expected to take several days. When all the teams returned, the differences were obvious. Most teams had carefully mapped the threats and developed long-term containment strategies. Team 7, with their human member, had simply solved the problem. This was the human approach, direct, aggressive, and effective, but something else happened too. The alien members of Team 7 had absorbed human thinking. Kelthar moved with more confidence. Tilara made faster decisions. Kixrel thought more creatively about problems. They had not become human. They had become something new, a blend of their natural abilities and human determination. The graduation ceremony took place 1 year after the humans first arrived at the Galactic Military Academy. The 3 human students stood among hundreds of aliens. All wore the crisp uniforms of Confederation officers. But something fundamental had changed, not just in the humans but in everyone present. Commander Vexlar addressed the graduating class. "When you arrived here, you represented dozens of different species, hundreds of different worlds, thousands of different cultures. You came with different strengths, different weaknesses, different ways of seeing the galaxy." His sensor stalks swept across the assembled students. "This year, we learned that diversity is not just about tolerance. It is about recognizing that each species, each culture, each world has something unique to contribute. The humans taught us this lesson in the most direct way possible." Vexlar pointed to Jake, Amy, and Kevin. "These 3 students come from a Deathworld, a planet so hostile that survival itself is a daily achievement. They evolved in an environment that demanded physical toughness, mental strength, and the willingness to face danger directly. These traits made them powerful, but what truly made them valuable was their willingness to share those traits with all of you." He turned to address the entire class. "Every one of you has been changed by exposure to human thinking. You have learned to push harder, think faster, and act more decisively. But more importantly, the humans have learned from you. They discovered that their aggressive approach to problems is not always the answer, that sometimes patience and negotiation achieve better results than force." It was true. Jake had found that his tactical thinking improved when he used Kelthar's careful analysis. Amy discovered that Talara's telepathic insights often revealed diplomatic solutions she would have missed. Kevin learned that Kixrell's engineering solutions could eliminate threats without violence. The humans had not just taught. They had learned, and in doing so they helped create something new. A hybrid approach to military thinking that combined the best of all species. The lesson is simple, Vexlar concluded. Every species in this galaxy has evolved to survive their own unique challenges. Humans survived a death world. The Vreks survived a world of constant darkness. The Mindari survived in a dimension where thought itself was a weapon. We are all, in our own way, products of hardship. The Confederation grows stronger not by making everyone the same, but by learning from everyone's differences. Today, you graduate not as representatives of your individual species, but as the first generation of truly integrated Confederation officers. The ceremony ended with each student receiving their commission. When Jake Morrison stepped forward to receive his, Commander Vexlar placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have earned this, Lieutenant Morrison. But I want you to know that you gave us something far more valuable than just your service. You showed us what it means to face fear without backing down. That is a gift that will echo through generations." Jake smiled. "We just did what humans do, sir. We survived. We adapted. We helped our friends survive too." "Exactly," Vexlar replied. "And that is why you are dangerous. Not because you come from a death world, but because you refuse to let that world define your limitations." The newly commissioned officers left the academy and spread across the Confederation. They took with them the lessons they had learned. Alien officers who now understood human courage. Human officers who now valued alien wisdom. Together they would forge a new kind of military force. Word spread quickly through the galaxy about the human cadets. Other military academies invited human instructors. Confederation fleet commanders requested human tactical advisors. But more importantly, the attitude toward Earth changed. It was no longer seen as just a dangerous death world. It was recognized as a crucible that produced extraordinary people. More humans applied to the academy in the following years. They brought with them the same toughness, the same determination, the same refusal to accept defeat. But they also brought humility. They understood they were not superior. They were just different. And that difference could make everyone stronger. The alien students who trained with humans changed too. They stopped seeing themselves as fragile. They realized that everyone had the capacity for courage. It just needed to be awakened. The humans showed them how to find that courage within themselves. Kelthar became a decorated officer, known for his combination of careful planning and bold action. He often told young cadets about his first meeting with Jake Morrison. "I thought humans were monsters," he would say. "I learned they were just people who refused to be victims. That is a lesson anyone can learn." Telara specialized in diplomatic missions, using her telepathy combined with human directness to resolve conflicts. She understood that sometimes the kindest thing was to face truth head-on, rather than dancing around problems. The academy itself changed its entire curriculum. Physical training became more demanding. Tactical instruction emphasized decisive action. Survival courses tested students beyond their comfort zones. But these changes were balanced with increased emphasis on cooperation and understanding. The goal was not to make everyone think like humans. It was to help everyone think like the best version of themselves. 5 years after graduation, officers trained in the new system started taking command positions. The difference was immediately obvious. Confederation forces became more effective, more adaptable, and more respected. Pirates and hostile forces that once saw the Confederation as soft targets learned to fear them. But the Confederation did not become more aggressive. Instead, it became more confident. Confident forces did not need to fight as often. Their reputation alone was often enough to prevent conflict. When they did fight, they won quickly and decisively, which actually reduced total violence. The lesson about Deathworld Cadets spread far beyond military circles. Scientists studied Earth's ecosystem to understand how such a hostile environment produced technological civilization. Philosophers debated the relationship between adversity and character. Artists created works celebrating the human spirit of perseverance. But perhaps the most important change was psychological. Species across the galaxy stopped seeing difficulty as something to avoid. They started seeing it as something that could make them stronger. Not everyone needed to come from a death world to have a death world mindset. They just needed to face their challenges with courage rather than fear. Earth became a symbol, not of violence or aggression, but of survival and adaptation. When Confederation citizens faced hard times, they would say they needed to be more like Earth. They meant they needed to be tougher, more determined, more willing to face problems directly. The humans themselves remained humble. They knew they were not perfect. They had their own problems and weaknesses, but they understood their unique value. They were the species that could look at a galaxy full of dangers and say, "We have seen worse." They were the species that turned every obstacle into an opportunity. Every alien race did learn the same lesson about Deathworld Cadets. But it was not the lesson anyone expected. They did not learn that humans were superior, or that violence was the answer. They learned that every species had untapped potential, that comfort could be a cage, that growth required challenge, and most importantly, that diversity of thought and experience made everyone stronger. The humans from Earth simply reminded the galaxy of truths they had forgotten. Sometimes you needed to face danger. Sometimes you needed to push your limits. Sometimes you needed to refuse to accept defeat. These were not uniquely human traits. They were universal traits that humans had simply maintained better than most. And now, thanks to 3 young cadets who dared to enter the Galactic Military Academy, those traits were spreading across the stars. 5 years after graduation, the Confederation frigate Dancing Through Void hung in orbit over a contested border world. On the bridge, Captain Jake Morrison reviewed the tactical situation with his mixed-species crew. His first officer, Commander Kelthar, stood beside him. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "The situation is delicate," Kelthar said. "The local government is requesting assistance, but the hostile forces outnumber us 3-1. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. There were Vrex, Mindari, Korthians, and yes, a few more humans. Each one was trained in both their species' traditional methods and in the hybrid approach that had become standard in Confederation military operations. 3-1? Jake said with a slight smile. "Those are pretty good odds. Remember what I taught you at the academy?" Kelthar's mandibles formed what the crew had learned to recognize as a Vrex smile. That humans consider overwhelming odds to be a suggestion rather than a barrier. Exactly. But more importantly, we are not just humans anymore. We are Confederation. We have the toughness of Deathworlders, the wisdom of the Mindari, the precision of the Vrex, and the strength of the Korthians. We are not facing these hostiles as separate species. We are facing them as a unified force. He stood, addressing the entire bridge crew. This is what the Academy taught us. Not to be more like humans or more like aliens, but to be better than either of us could be alone. That is the real lesson of the Deathworld Cadets. The crew responded with a chorus of affirmations in a dozen different languages, all saying the same thing. "Ready, Captain. Then let us show them what the Confederation can do." All hands to battle stations. As the Dancing Through Void moved into position, Jake thought about how far they had all come. The galaxy had learned its lesson about Deathworld Cadets, but not the lesson anyone had expected. Meanwhile, on another ship across the sector, Amy Sullivan commanded her own vessel. The Starlight Defender was a diplomatic ship, but Amy had made sure it could handle itself in a fight if necessary. Her specialty was negotiation backed by credible force. She had learned from her alien colleagues that sometimes the best fight was the one you never had to start. Right now, she was mediating a dispute between 2 colony worlds. Both sides were angry. Both sides were preparing for war. Amy sat in the negotiation room with representatives from each planet. She let them argue for hours, understanding that sometimes people needed to vent their frustration before they could think clearly. When the moment was right, she spoke. Her voice was calm but carried complete authority. "Gentlemen, ladies, honored beings of all types, I have sat here and listened to your grievances. Both sides have legitimate concerns. Both sides have been wronged. But here is what I know for certain. If you go to war, thousands will die. Your economies will collapse. Your children will grow up in refugee camps. And in the end, you will still need to negotiate. So why not skip the death and destruction and negotiate now?" One of the representatives, a tall alien with blue skin, shook his head. "You do not understand our history. You do not understand our hatred." Amy leaned forward. "You are right. I do not understand your specific history, but I understand hatred. I come from Earth. Do you know how many wars humans fought against each other? Thousands. We killed each other over religion, over resources, over pride. We nearly destroyed our entire planet multiple times. But we learned something. Hatred is easy. Peace is hard. And the hard path is usually the right one. She stood up. I am giving you both 48 hours to reach an agreement. If you cannot, I will recommend that the Confederation impose sanctions on both your worlds. Trade embargoes, travel restrictions, freezing of assets. Your economies will suffer far more from that than from any compromise you make here. Your choice. It was the human approach combined with diplomatic wisdom. Set clear consequences. Give people a path forward, but do not accept excuses. 46 hours later, both sides signed a peace treaty. Amy's crew celebrated, but she remained focused. There would be other conflicts, other challenges. That was the nature of the galaxy. Kevin Parks had taken a different path. He specialized in training new cadets. He had returned to the academy as an instructor, teaching survival and adaptation. His classes were legendarily difficult but also extremely popular. Students knew that if they could pass Kevin's courses, they could handle almost anything. Today he stood in front of a class of 50 cadets from 20 different species. They looked nervous. They had heard stories about Instructor Parks. He smiled at them, and somehow that made them more nervous. Welcome to Advanced Survival, he said. You are here because you passed the basic courses. You think you know how to survive. You are wrong. You know how to survive in controlled environments with safety measures and rescue teams standing by. In this course, you will learn how to survive when everything goes wrong, when your equipment fails, when your team is separated, when you are injured and alone. You will learn what it really means to refuse to die. One cadet, a young Zentari female with a crystalline shell, raised her hand. Instructor Parks, is it true you once survived for 30 days in a hostile environment with no supplies? Kevin nodded. True, but that is not the point. The point is that survival is not about being the toughest or the strongest. It is about being the most adaptable, about using your mind to overcome what your body cannot. Every one of you has abilities I do not have. The Vrex can see in darkness. The Mindari can sense danger telepathically. The Korthians have incredible strength. My job is to teach you how to use those abilities when you are pushed to your absolute limit. He walked among the cadets. Humans have a saying, what does not kill you makes you stronger. In this course, nothing will kill you. We have safety measures. But you will be pushed to the edge of what you think you can handle. And when you discover you can handle more than you thought, you will understand what it means to be Confederation military. You will understand that your limits are usually just in your head. The course was as difficult as promised. Cadets were dropped in extreme environments with minimal gear. They had to find food, water, and shelter. They had to navigate without electronic equipment. They had to treat injuries with natural remedies. Many wanted to quit. But Kevin and his team of instructors pushed them forward, always with encouragement, never with mockery. By the end of the course, every cadet who completed it was transformed. They moved with more confidence. They spoke with more authority. They had discovered inner strength they did not know they possessed. This was Kevin's gift to them. Not human toughness, but the knowledge that toughness could be learned. Years passed. The 3 original human cadets became famous throughout the Confederation. Jake Morrison for his tactical brilliance, Amy Sullivan for her diplomatic skills, Kevin Parks for his teaching methods. But they never forgot where they came from or what they had learned. Every year on the anniversary of their graduation, the 3 met at the academy. They walked through the halls where they had first arrived, remembering how the alien students had feared them. They visited the training grounds where they had set records that still stood. They talked with current cadets, sharing stories and advice. On one such visit, a young human cadet approached Jake nervously. She was in her first month at the academy. Sir, can I ask you something? Of course. Everyone expects me to be amazing because I am human. They think I should be as good as you were, but I am just me. I am not special. What if I let everyone down? Jake smiled. Want to know a secret? I was not special either. None of us were. We were just average humans who worked hard and refused to quit. That is all you need to be. Do not try to live up to some legend. Just do your best every day. Push yourself a little bit more than you think you can. Help your teammates. Learn from the other species. That is what made us successful, not because we were superhuman, but because we were human and we worked at it. The young cadet looked relieved. Thank you, sir, that helps. As she walked away, Amy came up beside Jake. Good advice? Think she will make it? Definitely. She has the right attitude. Humble but determined. That is what matters. Kevin joined them, looking out over the academy grounds. Hard to believe it has been 10 years since we first walked through those gates. Remember how scared everyone was of us? They were not scared of us, Amy said. They were scared of what we represented. The unknown, the different. Now look at them. She pointed to a mixed group of cadets training together. Humans, Vrex, Mindari, and others working as a seamless team. They learned that different is not dangerous. It is powerful. Jake nodded. That was always the real lesson. Every alien race learned the same thing about Deathworld Cadets. They learned that we are not monsters or supermen. We are just people who had to overcome a difficult environment. And that ability to overcome difficulty is something everyone has. They just needed to see it was possible. The sun was setting, on Nexus Prime casting purple shadows across the academy. The three friends stood together, watching the next generation of officers train. They had changed the galaxy not through force or intimidation, but through example. They showed that courage could be learned, that limits could be pushed, and that cooperation made everyone stronger. The lesson of the Deathworld Cadets would echo through generations. Not that humans,